All right, magic makers. I have another great interview. Well, aren't they all are? I mean, if I brought you crappy interviews, would you even listen in? So today we're talking to Miss Cassie Hamilton. I've known Cassie for a long time, but in the last year, I've got she's become a client, and I really, really enjoy working with her. And I know you will really enjoy hearing her story here on the podcast. So, Cassie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, Cassie, we worked together in a different program, and then you transitioned over to work with me uh, by alone. I'm like, I can't look at the think of the words. I've been on the phone all day right now, and I'm like, my words. I'm like, can I just? I'm like, I don't. I'm like, can you just plug into my brain? And so, let people kind of know a little bit about yourself. Like, what has been your health journey?
Sure. As you know, some people probably don't, but I'm in the Navy, active duty military. I've been almost 18 years. I don't know where those 18 years went. I know for real. Um, and you know, in the military, you have to be physically fit. You have to be within certain height and weight standards, and as a woman in the military, it is challenging. And there isn't always good resources out there to guide you in the right direction, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're doing weigh-ins next week, and you're 5-10 pounds over your max, and you're like, I don't want to go through and get taped and go through that whole process. It's just, it puts a lot of stress on you, and for a long time I was in that position where I didn't know what to eat, how to fuel my body to, match my fitness routines and what I wanted to do, and my physical, my fitness goals. And so that's how I ended up working with Kathy, and then subsequently with you. And I guess we've been working together almost a year now. It's
Yeah.
May. Yep, last May. Um, and it it's truly been eye opening. Really, I think in the last couple years, and I think COVID really had a lot to do with it
Yeah.
because um, prior to prior to COVID, so 2019, I got moved. PCS is what we call it, permanent changes station. So I'm up here in North Chicago at Navy boot camp, and you have to be the example for these new people who are going to be sailors. You have to be at the top of your physical fitness game. You've got to be in great shape, great mindset, those kinds of things. And I was, and then COVID hit, and that all just went
Mm.
to shit. It just down the tubes very quickly. And I think that was like that for everybody.
Oh yeah.
You know, and if it wasn't for you, then I think you're lying. So
Right. Right. Two
I think
steps up in a tic tac for you if you didn't fall down like
absolutely.
the COVID hole.
Absolutely. I mean, I got COVID. I had to live on base, for 70 some days away from my family. I didn't have access to my normal thing. Everything just got out of whack. Um, so my mindset definitely suffered from a lot of that. And um, I think that definitely in the last couple of years, turning that mindset around, kind of realizing that I'm not starting from scratch, but the new normal is a different normal than what it
Mm.
was in 2019 when I was at the top of my game. So that's kind of where I am. Definitely have made a lot of progress. Just even today, I went for a 2 mile run, and I haven't run 2 miles straight for I don't even know. It's probably been 2 years. It's probably been prior to COVID.
Well, I
And
remember when we first started working together, that was you wanted to get back to a mile, running a mile, because don't you have to run a mile for part of your
yeah,
uh
our test consists of push-ups, plank, and a mile and a half run.
yeah, and so I remember you said you wanted to get back to being able
Hmm.
to run that mile. And you I think what I find challenging for you being in the military, but also um it's also it's challenging for you is that you have to hit these certain parameters regardless of what's going on in your life. It could be a bad time for you in your life right now, or could be, you're studying for exam, you have exams that you study for. So it could be like you're trying to study for exam. It could be the times when, you have new recruits coming in and your whole world is like trying to get them up to snuff, and
Yeah.
your focus is them and not you. So like
Hmm.
here you are trying to be like, I got to be at the top of my game while I'm trying to keep them at the top of their game. So it's a lot of conflicting priorities at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that, that a lot of people do that. They give so much,
Mm.
to other people that they just, sort of, they don't either have time for themselves or they forget to
Oh,
take the time,
thousand
and
percent.
had that call recently about, and that was brought up about, I forget who it was that was speaking, but she gives and gives and gives and does all these things for all these people, and then there's no time for yourself. And so I think that's a huge thing. Like, even if it's 15 minutes to take a walk outside, I never would have thought, oh, just take a walk, like something that we consider maybe too easy,
Yes.
and that was part of the mindset. It's like, it doesn't have to be the workouts that it used to be. It doesn't have to be, a 45-minute lift with a 30-minute, 45-minute cardio afterwards.
Right.
It could just be like today, a 2-mile run, and that's it. Or yesterday, for me, it was just lifting some weights, and that was it. Like,
Yeah.
it's good. It's like resetting your new normal and what that's gonna look like.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because I was just having a conversation with another person I was doing a podcast with, and she has a book called Unapologetically Enough. And so many of us get caught up in well, I just went for a run. I just lifted. I just, and not being like, hey, I lifted, celebrate, and move on
Hmm.
with that. You made the time for yourself where, um, Cassie is in my membership, and every month we have a different theme. And this month's theme is time, because that's the one common denominator that everyone always says, I don't have enough time, or I ran out of time, or insert whatever time.
Hmm.
And,
Absolutely.
you know, the one thing I can say that I've, in the last year that I've worked with Cassie, like she's had these amazing like mindset shifts that I'm like, yes. And, that right there, she just said it again. She's like, you know what? Old me would have been like, this isn't enough. Like, even though the 2.5, she hasn't run forever, and she like made it 2.5 miles and no one had to come pick her up in the car, or they found her dead by the side of the road. She would, old Cassie would have been like, okay, so now I'm going to have to figure out how to go to the gym. Or she would be, go 3 rounds in her head about why couldn't she also go to the gym, or why wasn't it 5 miles?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, some of it also is, well, the trying to find like that push, that internal motivation
Mm.
sort of thing. Some days, like, what, I don't even know what day it is. Today's Thursday.
Yeah, I don't even know what day it
Tuesday.
is either.
Tuesday, I was supposed to, in my head, in my schedule that I made in my head, I was supposed to go to the gym and do a workout, and it was just piss raining all day, and I was just like,
Hmm.
you know what, that's not, it's just not happening today. And I didn't, and instead of like saying, well, beating myself up about it, I'm like, you know what, it's only Tuesday. I've got Wednesday, I got Thursday, I've got all these other days in the week, so we're just gonna push everything to the right, because you're gonna need a rest day anyway. That's how I formulated it. So then, yesterday comes along, beautiful
Right.
day, and I'm like, you know what? Yesterday I took that rest day. Today's my day. So, you gotta like think about it that way and talk to yourself that way, and not be like, well, you know, I'm not working out enough because I'm not motivated, or I'm not getting my goals because I'm not motivated, and I'm not doing enough. Well, I don't know. I think that's in the past. It's,
Yeah.
that mindset's just, it's just not, it doesn't serve you, and in the end you end up burning out and, saying, screw this, I'm going to go, full restriction and,
Right.
eat seeds and water or something. I don't know.
Right. Because it's so funny because it's like, the motivation where you say, like, oh, I'm not motivated. and then you're like, I'm gonna double down, and then like you double down and like you mess it up, and you're like, but that means I gotta double down even harder, and then it just like it's this vicious like circle that just you never could get yourself out of.
Mhm. Yeah, and sometimes it's just getting there, when
Yeah,
you're not feeling it. Like, that was me again, Monday. I was like, "You know what? I'm not really feeling it, but I'm gonna go and just walk on the treadmill."
yeah.
And I ended up just doing a run on the treadmill, Not really a fan of the treadmill, but it's better than nothing.
Right. Exactly. Something is better than nothing. And there's plenty of times like I go to the gym and I'm like, all right, I know if maybe I just go there, I might feel it.
Mhm.
And sometimes I do, and sometimes it's not going to be the workout for the record books, but it could just be I foam roll, or it could just be like you said, you turned into a run on the tread. It could just turn into mobility work, but it was
Mhm.
like I did something, right? I made the commitment that I was going to go to the gym. Made the commitment that I was going to do some type of activity, and I
Mhm.
did it, but it didn't look like the way in my head I planned it out.
Right. And I think that's probably bigger for your mindset than actually going through and doing a killer workout. It's like I showed up and I did,
Yes.
and I made a conscious decision like I'm doing this. I'm doing something, and instead of just focusing on, well, I didn't do what I planned on doing. I'm a piece of crap, blah blah blah, I'm not going to
Right.
get to my goals. That's just that rabbit hole that you can just go down and not come back from. Um Shoot, I forget what I was going to say. Oh well.
No, I mean, but that you like that's spot on, because in our mind we get all caught up into how it should look.
Mhm.
And there's two directions you can go. If I can't get that 2 hour workout in, then I might as well not go.
Exactly.
Or I go to the gym, and even though I'm not feeling it, I like push my body to do what my body's like, we need a little bit of time here.
Mhm.
So it's like, but like what you're saying, which I think is a great mindset shift, is that it's like, you know what, Monday's just not a good day for me right now. But you know what? It's only Monday, and here are the other days that I know that I can go to the gym instead,
Mhm.
and it not just be Monday sucks. I'll see you next week.
Yeah. And I really started to incorporate your red, yellow, green days
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
too, because it really puts things into perspective in the way that, if you got a green day, like you're going at it, you're like, yeah, I feel great. I'm going to do my lift and I'm going to add a little bit of cardio. I'm going to do maybe a finisher. And then maybe the next day you're like, ooh, I'm really feeling that workout yesterday. Maybe I'm going to be a yellow and just, get what I can in, and it that alleviates so much guilt for not
Yes.
going at it, and for me, I think that I think that really helped me out a lot because it really, it removed that extra stress, that stress that you unnecessary stress, of not doing that 2 hour workout or not getting the full page of exercises in. It's like, you know what? My body is not feeling uh walking lunges.
Right.
Like we're just maybe we'll just do or weighted lunges. Maybe we'll just do some walking lunges or just
Right.
in place or and feel free to modify it that way. That way, and going back to when I was having those back issues, I had to modify so much of workouts, and to make sure that I wasn't injuring myself, but also making sure I could still get something,
Right.
so and not feeling guilty about it. I was definitely like red days, red days, red days, but I was doing something, mobility, stretching, foam rolling. It was something, and so for me that was really helpful because I knew that again, I was going to the gym, I was showing up, I was giving myself time, and that really alleviated, like I said, alleviated that undue stress that we put on ourselves so
Yeah.
often.
So for those of you guys listening, I'll link it up also in the show notes. What she's talking about, red, yellow, green days. I was an overtrainer So we're all in that group. Maybe we'll start handing out chips and have meetings and all of that for the over exercisers out there. But red day is a day where you're just like, Cassie said on Monday, like, I just was not feeling it. Either mentally or physically, your body's just like, yeah, this isn't happening. It also could be a day that you're injured. It could be a day that you're sick. That you're just like, you know what, today's not the day that I'm going to even think about working out. Yellow day is like you feel a little bit better, right? You feel like, you know what, I'm not going to be crushing it, but I know that I can do something, some type of workout, something for my body. And then green days is like you're just feeling it. You're just like ready to rumble, like you're just going to get after it, as she mentioned. And what I liked about it is one, people take information, and then they don't apply it to your life. And I love that, you always are applying it to your life. And that, you said, it helped me to stop feeling guilty. And I don't know how many hours we have all spent laying in bed guilty about, I shouldn't have eaten this, or I should have done this at the gym, or I should have gone to the gym. And we just like, I mean, we probably could cure multiple cancers, and maybe even we could have probably figured out the vaccines for corona. With all the time that us women had spent thinking about diet and exercise.
Hmm. Yeah, and you have to look at it like obsessing over those thoughts. It's like, you're
Why?
causing even more, right? Exactly. It doesn't serve you any. You can't change what you did or didn't do that day. So, you kind of just maybe
It is what it is.
acknowledge, okay, maybe I shouldn't have had that extra slice of pizza next time. I'll try to not. And then maybe you still eat that extra slice of pizza, but at least it's a recognition and it's a work in progress, and eventually you get to the point where you don't overindulge too much. So, I think I've mentioned that before, going to a restaurant, like I actually ordered a salad at a restaurant and not gone for everything else that I want on the menu. It's progress, and you have to acknowledge that and take it as a win, even if it's once in 10 times that you eat out. It's something.
Right. And you said, I'm going to circle back. You said a couple of things that I think are just absolutely fabulous. You talked about just showing up. And I think, for a lot of people, that's hard because, as you mentioned, in our head, we think we have to show up and I got to lift a Buick and, run 50 miles and do all the things versus just committing. Like I said, I was going to go to the gym at this time and I'm just going to commit, just go to the gym. And like you did, you're like, you know what? It was just, I ran on the treadmill, even if it was 15 minutes. You're like, you
Hmm.
made the commitment to show up at that gym.
Hmm. Yeah, and I do a lot of mindset and mentoring, coaching with my recruits when I have them, and I talk about a lot about showing up, and if you and doubt and how self doubt comes into play with that, and
Yeah.
if you say I cannot do something, then it absolutely is not going to happen, right? I cannot do 50 push ups. Guess what? You're not going to do 50 push ups. You've already told yourself that you can't. So you've
Yes.
already created that self doubt, and your body's just going to be like, F you, we're
Right.
not going to do it. Um, but if you eliminate that and you just, like I said, you show up, and give yourself that glimmer of, opportunity, then you're going to do way more than you think you can.
Right.
So, and that's why I feel like showing up, going to the gym when you're not really feeling it is so important, because you may get there, do a warm up and be like, oh yeah, I'm starting to feel good, and you end up doing a whole workout, and maybe you would have written yourself off otherwise, so that's why I feel it's so important to have that sort of positive attitude, positive mindset. If I say can't do something, obviously you're not going to do it. But if you give yourself that chance, 9 times out of 10, you're going to do more than you think you can.
Absolutely. There's a YouTube video, and I think it's from a movie. I think it's from Friday Night Lights. It's a football movie, and basically this um, coach is trying to change the player's mindset. and he makes him like strap onto his back this like little like 100-pound guy, and makes him um, crawl the football field. And he's like, he gets far, and then all of a sudden he's like, coach, I can't do it anymore. And he goes, yeah, you can. He's like, you're only 5 yards away. He's literally 20 yards away. And he's like, another yard, another yard. And he's like blindfolded. So he has no idea where he is in space. And he keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. And then eventually the coach is like, motivating him throughout the whole thing. And the coach finally says, okay, you can let him off your back. And he goes, look where you are. And he did the whole field.
Hmm.
And it was showing that it's step by step, right? We all want to leap tall buildings in a single bound,
Hmm.
but it's the step by step. And as you acknowledge, you're like, it's the little things, like, you're like, when I remember that was like one of the first things you said to me, that you went to a restaurant and you didn't feel entitled to eat whatever it is that you want to eat. You're like, and you're like, you know what, I felt like a salad and I had it. It wasn't
Hmm.
like I had this salad because I should. You're like, you know what, this salad looks pretty good, I'm gonna order it.
Hmm.
And I was like, you know what, that's progress. And maybe the next time you go there, you're like, I'm gonna have the fried whatever. Great, have the fried whatever. But it's like that was like what you wanted at that moment in time,
Hmm. Absolutely.
and you
Um,
and you honored
yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's important, is, acknowledging, yes, I made a conscious choice, I made a good decision, and I'm going to build on that, next time. Maybe, right, like you said, maybe not always, but it's something, and you have to acknowledge that, because we base everything that we do on results, right?
Yes.
And we want feedback on everything, and instantaneous feedback,
Mm,
and to me, like, that's sort of, those are results, right? Making, recognizing that you make those small decisions that you wouldn't have normally made otherwise,
right.
and so that's definitely a sign that there's a shift going on. um the other thing about it is, like, once you've got that self-doubt going on, and you're talking about the football player crawling across the field. It's the same, in our gym on base, the recruits, they have to run 12 laps to do their mile and a half. And they'll get to,
Ugh.
like, I know, it's a tiny eight. Yeah. Yeah. It sucks. Um,
I just think, like, in my head, I'm like running in a circle, and especially when you're at one, and my whole, like, I would have to do a lot of mindset, because like my mind
yeah.
would be like, this is one,
Yeah.
I have to do
And
this 11 more times.
right. Yeah. And yeah. I, Running on a quarter mile track is, like, almost unbearable for me. I'd rather do the down and back option, but
Yeah.
you don't always have the choice. So, but you get these kids, they'll get to, like, lap 10 or lap 11, and they'll start walking, and they'll just completely destroy everything they did, and they'll just
Right.
quit. It's just like, "Oh my
You're
gosh."
so close.
Because what they do is they're thinking, "Oh, this hurts. Oh, I don't know if I can do this," and that self-doubt starts to creep in,
Yeah,
and they're just like, you might as well just flush the toilet.
pretty
They're
much.
done. They're
Yeah,
done,
pretty
and
much.
it's, but we do that to ourselves all the
Hmm.
time, as human beings. We want to succeed, and but as soon as something gets uncomfortable, and something
Yes.
doesn't feel right, we're like, we back off instead of just trying to push through that.
Right.
And that's another thing that I try to mentor these kids on. It's like, yeah, it's gonna not feel good. Like, running doesn't feel good. Like, being
Yeah.
uncomfortable, learning new things does not feel good. But eventually, it won't suck so bad. It won't
Right.
hurt, it won't hurt as bad. That mile and a half will be a little easier, and then you can actually run faster or run further, or, do more push-ups, or whatever it is that you're uncomfortable with. And so much of that is, it's life lessons there. It's not just a physical thing, but it's like all kinds of stuff, how to improve your relationships with people, and how to do your job better. And you can take that one little concept and just apply it in every single way.
Yeah. It's funny. I always tell people that, like, fitness concepts, you know, extrapolate to so many different areas. And I said when I first started, it was goal setting at fitness that taught me that I could goal set in other areas of my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And and that I could make the goal. You're in the Navy, so you get a lot of like, this is what Cassie, this is what you do. And so
Mm-hmm.
you don't really get a lot of choice as to
Mm-hmm.
like where you're going to live for the next 2 years and what might do on a day in and day out basis. But with fitness, you're like, I can control like
Mm-hmm.
what my outcomes are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, it's incredible what you can do when you just change or shift your mind to just think of things in a different light, and that it's
Yeah.
not just so this is the way it is and will never change. It's
Exactly. And it's very easy to get very, I think diet culture teaches us to get very linear, that if I do these three things, then this is going to be the end result. But
Mhm.
I wish we were machines, because my job would be a hell of a lot easier. But what's going to work for Cassie isn't going to work for Joni, that isn't going to work for Sharon, because everyone's got a different physiological response, and everyone has a different diet history, and everyone has a different mindset.
Yeah, and the whole restriction thing, like eat this, not that. It's just like
Yeah.
it's not a square. It doesn't fit in this little cute little box, with a bow on it. It's no one person is the same, and you can't just tell one person to do the same thing. It's not going to work out that way at all.
No, it doesn't work out that way at all. um and so as we are kind of like talking this conversation, you know what are some of the results that you have seen by working with me?
Well, we've been talking a lot about mindset,
Yep.
so we have that going for us. It's I think that having a strong mind and having that good solid foundation is definitely like a springboard to everything
Right.
else. The let's see, definitely have made progress in maybe not quite. We haven't gotten like the actual my the weight loss goals on point yet. We're headed towards that direction, I think. But I think also like just the knowledge that you have, and that you give to us so many tools and resources regarding nutrition. We did that one call a while back about sleep. It's just you are so invested in each individual person that you're not going to you don't treat people like they are the same as everybody else. It's very individualized. um, and so it's nice to work with someone like that, because they're not, I want to be treated like an individual, because that's who I am. Gosh darn it.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know I don't want my protocol to be the same as somebody else's, because I guarantee you it's not going to work.
Right. And I always
you
tell
know?
people, it's like everyone gets the same base plan. And then as I know you, then I'm like, or you tell me like, hey, I hurt my back. And I'm like, okay, do this instead.
Mhm.
But for the most part, you know, as we especially like, we've worked together for a while. So now that I know you, I'll shoot you after I send something out. I'll be like, hey, does this work for you? And you
Mhm.
can say yay or nay. And
Right.
so, for I think for, you've worked virtually for a while, so you totally get it. But I feel for those people who aren't virtual people, it's a conversation.
Mhm.
Even though it's email, that's one of the reasons why I do the Zooms are
Mhm.
easy for me, like, because
Mhm.
I can hear your voice. So I can hear your voice. It's like, does she get it? Or she's like still like, what does she mean? you know?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think for me, a lot of people, they want to lose 400 pounds in 4 days. Like, I'm not your girl.
Mhm.
But can I set you up for solid, what you just said, the solid mindset foundation? Yeah. So that like you're no longer beating yourself up in your head. Like that's the stuff that is going to get you the lasting results, that like 10 years from now, you're still not looking for the meal plan.
Yeah, and I think also, there are definitely coaches out there that are, if you're working towards a specific fitness goal, like, you want to go compete or something like that, you definitely have coaches that will get you there, and it is very much of a do this, that, a lot of times clients are in that situation where their coach is like God, you
Yes.
have to eat the kiwi, you can't eat the pineapple or something like that, and but you give us flexibility. There's flexibility in there. I love getting um on the other side. I love getting the recipe packs, and it just gives me fresh ideas from my normal cooking, and just things that I wouldn't normally eat, and things to try, and it's just it really I enjoy that. And it's not a meal plan. Like, it's not you eat this and this and this and that's it.
Right.
It's This is just like a supplement. This is just something to help you out and to give you some more ideas. That's why I love all the different resources and tools, like the little nuggets of stuff, the stoplight uh comparison, with working out, or the seasons that we just talked about. I really love that analogy about how what season your body is in, throughout the year. And it's just all that stuff like put together. It's really helpful, at least for me.
Well, for you, it gives you permission. Like, so right now, and I don't know if you're still, I know what last month you had a whole bunch of new recruits come in, and I don't know how long it takes them to get through their cycle, but you were like, okay, I'm in my winter and how do I navigate my winter? And so, for a lot of people, they would still try to do all the things, knowing that work is going to get cray cray.
Either they'll do all the things or they won't do anything.
Right, exactly.
That's that those extremes there. And actually, to clarify, my supposed my I was supposed to go in that direction and get new recruits, and that didn't happen. It's actually going to be in June, which is kind of a blessing in disguise, because I've been able to really take the month of May and the rest
Good.
of April and really concentrate on improving myself and my what I want to do, right? So
Perfect.
that's yeah, that's been excellent. But yeah, exactly. It's like, all right, I'm going to be working 12 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. What can I do? Like, give me all the metcons. Give me, some fast, healthy breakfast choices, things like that. And that's the kind of coach that I appreciate, because, you know, it's not just you're going to eat ham and cheese sandwiches. I don't know why I said that, but
I haven't had a good ham and cheese
you're not
sandwich
going to
in a long time.
I just found out that if you want to take a turkey and Swiss sandwich and spread some pesto on there, yes. And
Life
maybe
changing.
like a fresh slice of tomato.
I mean, you
Yeah.
can't have it without the tomato.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's sacrilege not to have pesto and tomato.
Right? Oh my gosh. I just started that this week. Holy crap. Cuz
Yeah.
you buy a jar of pesto, you use maybe part of it, and then it's
You use
like,
like this much, and then you're like, what do I do with this? Because
yeah, and
I
then
always feel like they sell jars this big or this big.
or the Costco size. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a year later you're like, "Oh, what is that growing?" Oh boy. or,
And you don't ever
yeah.
want to make fresh pesto because, again, you can only buy this many pine nuts or this many pine nuts.
Right?
And then, I love pine nuts, but it's still like you just throw them in the fridge and then you're like, oh, I bought this 3 years ago. Are they
Yeah.
good?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one benefit of having to move every 2 to 3 years. You always have a clean fridge.
Yeah. You should meet my husband. He would be like, why do we have to move in order to clean things out?
Yeah. But yeah, that's I love all the stuff that you give us, all the information, the little tidbits, if I ever needed a customization of something, like you're there. You're the person. And just that, all the questions you ask, just to really get to that personalization of training and protocol, so that you can, because you really do care about the people. It's just not just about numbers, how successful your clients are. And I've, like you said, I've known you, I think, since 2015. Good
Yeah.
Lord. Um,
I
so, but,
know.
and I knew that beforehand too. You knew you were a straight shooter, and that's why I felt very comfortable shifting over because I knew that I was going to get top notch, coaching and really great insight, really great advice, and that you were there to as part of like my support system, in my world. So thank you
Awesome.
for that.
It's so funny. I gotta stop doing these calls because you make me feel all bubbly on the inside. I talked to Christy Bernstein right before you, and she was like, we were talking, and she was like, "You're gonna make me cry." I was like, "Dude," I'm like, "If you make me cry, hanging up on you." Uh,
Oh,
but yeah, I just one like Cassie said, like we've known each other since 2015. We've met each other multiple times in person, and this is the first time I've gotten to work with her one on one. And I just have like adored getting to know you. Like I just have adored
mhm.
getting to know you. I didn't see the cat, and so I feel like a little like something's wrong because I haven't seen the cat. He hasn't wandered down. But you
He's
said
sleeping.
but you said that he's more of your husband's cat and your husband's home. So,
Yeah,
maybe he's like, hanging with the hubby. But I've
yeah.
just really just adored getting to know you. And, as Kenzie said, like, I just like getting to know people as people because when I know your life, then I can say, what the hell are you trying to do right now? Cassie told me, when she had all those recruits coming in, that she was going to try to do some crazy thing. I'd be like, what the hell are you trying to do? And not that I don't think she could do it, but I'm like, why would you try to climb Everest when you know that you're going to be working 12 to 16-hour days? Like, that's just asking for you to fail.
Hmm.
And if she told me, Kim, I'm still going to do it, I'm like, all right, rock on with your bad self. I'll be here to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Uh,
the more I know about people, the more I'm able to be like, okay, I've coached for so long that I'm like, all right, I know that's going to work for you. Or I know you as an individual, and I know that like you're that person. If you have 50 things on your plate, you excel. Where
mhm.
I know other people, if you put 50 things on the plate, they're going to sink like a rock to the bottom of the sea.
Mhm.
And sometimes they need to be talked out of their own craziness.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's so important is that constant feedback, that back and forth, the emailing, the Zoom calls, it creates, so much more conversation instead of it just being a one-way street and,
Yeah.
from the coach to the client, like, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do. And meanwhile, there's no, like, help me, I'm drowning,
Yeah. And
you know?
or you're not afraid, many of you aren't afraid to be like, Kim, this sucked. And I'm like, all right, why did it suck? And you know that I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to be like, all right, let's figure this out. Because there's multiple ways to skin this cat.
Hmm.
Sorry if you're listening, Kitty. Um, it's just a, it's just a figure of speech. Then I'm gonna after we get off this, I'm gonna Google to see who came up with that first. Because that is kind of a little like, morbid.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
So if anyone is like listening to this and would you say like I would be a great coach for them to have?
Of course. Oh my gosh. If you're looking for someone who you just you're lost and you need direction and you need someone you want someone to have that conversation with, that back and forth, to guidance, definitely, absolutely. Kim is definitely the coach for you.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me the evening. I don't even know. It's daylight
Yeah.
out. So daytime. The daytime.
Yeah, it's not even 4 over here, so.
And it's almost 5 here, and I'm like my allergies are kicking up, and when I take the Sudafed that you have to show your ID for, I now understand why they make meth with it. I'm like, okay, this is what meth feels like.
Oh, good lord.
Because I am like, I feel like I'm on tape delay sometimes, and I can't string a sentence together. So I really wouldn't be a good drug addict. Wouldn't be a good one.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. All
Oh,
right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and chatting with me today.
sure thing, it's been fun.
It's been fun.